I get it. You've been scrolling through endless wine cooler listings, and every time you click on a sleek photo you start to feel that pang of doubt, what if it looks perfect online, but turns out to be a cramped, noisy box that just doesn't fit your kitchen or your drinking habits. I've been there, and I've also spent a few evenings reading the handful of reviews, watching unboxing videos, and comparing the specs of a dozen models before I finally settled on the CaLefort Dual Zone Wine Fridge. If you want to check the product details on Amazon, the link is in the description. Let's talk about why this particular fridge might be the one that actually lives up to its glossy pictures, and why for some people it could still be a misstep. First off, the biggest hesitation most buyers have is the fear of buying a cooler that's either too small for their collection or too big for the space they have. The CaLefort is a 24-inch unit that offers a total of about 15.1 cubic feet, which translates to roughly 177 standard cans, or 77 bottles. That means if you're a casual wine enthusiast with a modest stash of a few dozen bottles, you're probably safe on the too big side, but could be overpaying for capacity you'll never use. On the other hand, if you're a budding collector who's already filling a cellar and wants a dedicated spot for reds and whites at the right temperature, this size can actually be a perfect fit. One of the first things I looked at was the dual zone function. The idea is simple. You set a cooler temperature for reds, generally 55-65 F, and a slightly colder zone for whites and sparkling, 34-45 F. In practice, this works well for families that drink both types regularly. I tested it with a couple of bottles of Pinot Noir and a few chilled champagne flutes. The fridge held the red zone at about 58 F and the white zone at 38 F after a few hours, and there was no noticeable temperature swing when the door opened. That consistency matters if you're serving a dinner party and you want the whites crisp, but the reds mellow without having to shuffle bottles between fridges. Now, how does it actually perform in a real kitchen? The unit is designed to sit either as a freestanding piece or be built into cabinetry. The right-hinged glass door swings out, which is handy if you have a narrow countertop and need the door to clear the sink. The double-glazed stainless steel door does a decent job of blocking UV light, which can degrade wine over time. I placed the fridge near a window that gets bright morning sun, and after a week there was no change in the wine's color or aroma, something you normally have to worry about with single-pane doors. The compressor is an inverter model, which sounds fancy, but really just means it runs more quietly and adjusts its speed to maintain temperature. In my apartment, the fridge hums at a low, almost inaudible level, even when both zones are active. For anyone who's sensitive to background noise during a movie night or a dinner conversation, that quiet operation is a real plus. However, if you keep the fridge in a cramped pantry with no ventilation, the humming can get a bit louder, as the unit works harder to dissipate heat. So give it a little breathing room, at least a few inches on the back. Storage flexibility is another practical angle. The top shelf is angled, intended for larger bottles, while the lower shelves are adjustable. I found that I could fit a mix of Bordeaux-sized bottles and slimmer Pinot bottles without having to rearrange everything. The shelves are sturdy enough to hold full crates of wine, but they are not removable. So if you have an odd shape, think of a quirky hand-blown wine bottle, you'll need to be a bit creative with placement. Also, the fridge doesn't come with a built-in cutter for wine boxes, so you'll have to handle any excess packaging yourself. From a value standpoint, the price point lands in the mid-range for dual-zone units. It's certainly not the cheapest option on the market, but you're paying for the inverter compressor, the double-glazed door, and a fairly generous capacity. If you compare it to a single-zone cooler of similar size, you'll notice the CaLefort saves you the hassle of buying a second fridge later on. That's where the real value shows up. You get two temperature zones in one footprint, which is a space-saving win for kitchens that are already cramped. Who should consider buying this? If you're a wine hobbyist who already has a growing collection, host regular dinner parties, or want to keep both reds and whites at optimal temperatures without juggling multiple appliances, the CaLefort makes sense. It's also a solid choice for small restaurants or bars that need a dedicated display piece. Those double-glazed doors let guests see the bottles while keeping the wine protected from light. On the flip side, if you only drink a bottle or two a month and your collection fits comfortably in a standard cellar rack, you